Souls shatter, divinity falls, and the fate of the world depends upon a group of heroes no one expected. An orc, his people massacred, his destiny unveiled by his blood. A long-lost keeper of knowledge coming face to face with their own history. A nobleman leaving it all behind to carve a path determined by no one but himself. A betrayer running from his past, and an innocent chasing after his own. A fairy fighting to save his people, to save all people.
This is what it means to play at the table, where every choice you make matters. And some choices change the world.
Welcome to Tabling the Narrative, a World Anvil sponsored podcast where stories aren't just, stories.
We're your hosts. My name is Jen.
And I'm Sage. And in this episode, we're breaking down the events in The Shattered God, including cast interviews and favorite moments in preparation for our upcoming series, Oathfire.
Let's dive straight into the archive for an essential Shattered God overview that'll get you caught up.
The Shattered God begins in the capital of Velthuros, Lunastra, where the Council of Seven presides over a people divided by cursed and famined lands. The party gathers in the council hall to petition the Council of Seven for access to the celestial library beneath the council hall, when they're interrupted by Raish Thalris, who begins a ritual summoning the divine avatars.
But then the Shattered God begins its siege on Lunastra, starting where? At the top, killing the Council of Seven and the chosen avatars. This interrupts Raish's ritual, and in his final act, a radiant light goes into each one of the party members, marking them with unknown divinity.
The party awakens in the celestial library, where they fight off an amalgamated creature of the dead Council of Seven and meet again with Raish Thalris, who offers some harsh truths. The gods chosen are dead. The party is marked by unknown divinity, and every god, upon entering this realm, left a scar upon the world that the party is tasked with seeking out. Some gods, including Lua, Nazara, and Raziel, have already fallen to the Shattered One.
The party escapes a besieged Lunastra, knowing they have to find these scars. First, they travel to an ancient, abandoned, sealed city of the massacred fallen orcs called Golvathar. There, they do encounter the first scar from the sun god, where Oleg has a conversation with the sun god and chooses to accept becoming the avatar of Solaris.
But you wonder why she marked you, don't you? It's not because you were her knight. It's because you are her reflection. You are a betrayer as well, aren't you, Oleg?
Oleg is a little too drawn into the god standing before him to really take in what has just been revealed to the group, even though he's aware that they heard it. He says, "I the dusk, and you the dawn."
Here was my offer. Break your oath to Lua, cast aside her shadow, pledge yourself to me, become my knight. Choose the moon, not the goddess. You feel the searing, white, hot pain in your chest as your mark burns away, leaving no trace of Lua's influence. And as Stellaris walks over to you, reaches out a hand, and places it on your head, he says, "Everything will be fine in the end. All of your sins are forgiven. You will become the avatar of the moon. You will reflect my light. From now until forevermore."
Raish appears again and offers guidance to the party. Then they go and converge at the Stag's Rest Tavern and Inn.
After getting some rest, the party again awakens in Brackenford at the Stag's Rest, which is quickly overcome by the shattered souls of the shattered god. Now, after defeating these shattered souls, the party travels southeast to the elven kingdom of Aelthwyn, where they encounter a bard called Lero, who sings them a couple songs.
But I'm so rude. My name is Lyro. Traveler. I go here, I go there. I am a bit of a musician. In the hall where no winds wander, where the altar steals the flame, robed ones chant without a whisper, calling out a lost one's name. Bound and breathless on the table, where's a face you almost know? Is it yours or just a fable? Is it truth or just a show?
I just remembered the horrible song that he sung about Echo. He was like, "Echo, you're going to have nothing but death and destruction in your life." And he's like, "What?" Okay, sorry. The party arrives in Upper Aelthwyn, and they rest for the evening. A couple of people disappear overnight, and then they travel through the city, finally arriving at the throne room. This is where they battle Nixarath himself, and they refuse his tempting offers to join him.
This is when the party defeats Nixarath's creation, a creature created from Elam's eye. Kind of gross.
That was a very rough moment for me, Sage. They made me decide.
How could you do this to me?
So at this point, Oleg rejoins the party with news the shattered that we were seeing and killing all along were actually souls that were stolen in order to fuel the shattered god's power.
Yeah, so after this kind of revelation that Oleg delivers, the party then discovers the Veil of Ilarion beneath the palace in Aelthwyn. This is where Echo encounters Trill, one of his lost companions, in a sort of statuesque, shattered-ish form. Now, in trying to reawaken Trill, Echo is actually transported to the Veil of Stillness, where Nazara, the goddess of death, presides. Now, this is when Echo actually becomes the avatar of grace. And we're going to show you a little clip into what exactly that looks like.
We all give ourselves to friends and people we meet a little bit at a time. Guess it's okay to give someone a little bit more, right?
Well said, little one.
Echo smiles.
And in that sweet smile of the fairy, she reaches a hand down and touches your chest. And very carefully pulls a bit of light from you. closes her eyes and whispers something to it. Then blows it out across the water. And she says, "Go forth, Echo Light Sprout. For the next time I see you, I will be greeting my avatar of grace."
So, like Jen mentioned earlier, we had a few party members disappear. This includes Elend, who vanished into a grove within the Vale of Alarion and met again with Raish Thalris, who offers Elend a choice between truth and secrets. Elend accepts truth and ascends to the avatar of Kaloris, the avatar of knowledge itself. This is what Elend's ascension looked like.
The book is yours, if you want it. I marked you the minute Raish fell. I saw in you the curiosity that this world needs. But I do see something else. Secrets. You are after your own ends. But to serve me is to make your own choice. And it's a choice that I stand behind, for I'm very impressionable. He points to the tome on the ground and says, both of these books are the Dawnfire, and he spreads them apart. And you see them. Both accounts of the same moments in history. One is the meticulously documented account of our friend Raish. The other is a secret that the usurper would have written into history. A secret that will change reality as we know it. 2 timelines. One choice.
Without moving from their place in their wheelbarrow regarding the first and the second tomes, the original Dawnfire and the Shattered One, Elend turns their face and their now singular primary eye toward Kaloris and Raish's form and asks, "What becomes of my home in the Shattered One's future?"
Well, the future that you inquire about has not yet been written. I can tell you that he pulls at us, the gods. He wants all the power for himself. And his path to that power comes from the mortals.
Okay. With that said, Elend is very single-minded, very precise in their goal, their intention, and their existing knowledge, and is going to reach toward the first tome, the Book of the Dawnfire, that they have been studying for a very long time now, and take it within their hands.
So as you reach for it, the glow intensifies. Golden light spilling across the globe. The lavender fades, chased away. The aura. You see Kaloris close his eyes, basking in the divine light as it steadies. Then knowledge will be a light once more. Not to command, but to understand. He places his hand on your shoulder and says, you will be my truth. You will be everyone's truth. So he gets really close to your face, or what you consider a face, and says, you will be my avatar of truths.
All right, so that was a lot of background. Jen, let me take a breath real quick.
Oh, for sure. That was definitely a lot of information. Every time that we break down a story like this, I always wonder how people keep track of worlds at this scale.
Especially when you've got timelines and characters and locations and all of it just evolving at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I actually think this is a great time to mention that this episode is sponsored by World Anvil.
So if you're wondering what's World Anvil, worldanvil.com is basically a full toolkit for world builders, writers, game masters, everything in between. It helps you to organize lore, build timelines, and turn your maps into interactive experiences. And also pretty much everything else you need to build a world that's all your own.
Which, I mean, honestly, that would have helped me out so much whenever we were tracking everything in Aer'yndor for the Shattered God.
Okay, it still would, to be fair.
I mean, especially if we would have done it before this episode. But if you're looking at building your own world or even running your own campaign, you can use our code GHOSTLIGHT for 51% off any yearly membership.
We have also got a link in the description for you. It's definitely worth checking out if you want to bring your world to life in a more structured way than we created this episode.
And we're actually building out Oathfire's world, Aer'yndor, the same as the Shattered God, but different. But anyways, yeah, you'll be able to explore it yourself as we go through Oathfire. After that, the party ventures into Echo's home, the garden, where they find a trial being overseen by Soralia, the goddess of rain, in the stone circle. The elven people are being blamed for the corruption of the garden. However, the party helps the Queen of Elves explain that this is not true. Using Elam's visions, they prove that the Shattered God is responsible.
Newly acquitted of their crimes, Soralia transports the elves to Golvathar. Meanwhile, the party decides to face Nixarath directly. Arriving in Throg's home Thrakel via portal, the party watches Nixarath, the god of broken crowns, defeat Dravos, the god of war. And as Dravos falls, so does his hammer. He challenges Throg to pick it up, and Throg accepts, becoming the avatar of justice. Here's a quick clip of what that looked like.
But Nixarath, no longer the mortal that Dravos helped breathe into life, breathe into divinity, no longer bound by the laws of gods. He seems to roar as earth cracks. He brings the shattered blade down, knocking the warhammer from his fists. And he sends a final blow to the god's chest as he crashes down into the stone circle. The divine armor shattering like glass. And as you walk through the portal, the hammer arcs through the air as trails sparkle with embers. And it lands with a dong, this ringing thud at Throg's feet. Even Nixarath turns his glowing red eyes. He locks his eyes to the last known orc of the royal bloodline. And he says, "Pick it up."
And I'll do that really cool step on the edge thing so it flings up into his hands. And he'll say, Nixie, it's time for you to die.
So as you grab the hammer, you see this spectral essence appear before you, the shape of the very god that's laying on the ground. And you hear him say, "So are you going to be an avatar of justice or vengeance?"
The party defeats Nixarath in Thrakel, and the orcs of Thrakel decide to take up arms against the Shattered One and march to Golvathar.
The party then ventures to Ember Hold, originally devoted to the god of light, but the trickster god decides to go after Helm. The party helps Helm out, and he resists the trickster god's temptations. Helm then chooses to forge his own path and becomes the avatar of light.
You are not bound to the world that shapes you. You are not the sum of your guilt or your worries. You do not become the story others wrote for you. Remember this. We are the story we tell.
Try to let the light swallow my soul. A little bit of me that always hid in the shadows, away from responsibility, away from everything, the guilt that he pulls this light into himself, where these thoughts and feelings hide in the darkness, and lets that light burn them away.
And as the light fades away and you begin to slowly float back to the ground, your friends look at you and gaze upon the avatar of light.
The party unites with the pilgrims from the group action role one-shot, The Last Pilgrimage, and Dar and Gretchen both become Aaron's avatars of hope and fear. Here's their ascension.
Suddenly you realize that there is a presence with you. It takes a form that feels right to each of you, chosen not by them, but by you, an echo of faith, memory, of longing.
As a halfling, not any specific one that I've ever met, just a halfling.
A man. Even though he's standing there with us, I can't see him clearly. So it could be anything. But in Gretchen's mind, it's a man.
Fear is misunderstood. It's not weakness. Fear teaches us what we love, sharpens our courage. Without it, bravery is meaningless. And hope. Hope is what allows us to choose tomorrow, even when today is broken. You have been on this path, seeking the aid of the divine, seeking help from my children. And you are no longer seekers. You are no longer mortals. As the gods, we are forbidden to interfere in the mortal plane. Bravos knew better than anyone else. He was led by centuries of guilt. I need you to be my hands on this plane, my right and my left. Will you be my avatars of hope and fear?
Yeah, I guess. Then yes.
During their ascension, they learn from Aaron himself about why he's been absent. He's apparently been guarding the vault of the first flesh, called Naruthir. This is where his earliest creations, his earliest mistakes, still try to escape.
Using Elim's portal, the united party travels to the Watchspire, where they are preceded by the armies of Golvathar, the Concord of Veiled Suns, the Phalanx of Corvallis, the blood-bound clans of Thrakel, the Wardens of Aelthwyn, and the free tribes of the Wilds. Together, with their allies, they fight.
The party then pushes through the veil to the Shattered Realm. Here, the final battle truly begins, ending in Dar's death, where he uses a blaze of glory to defeat the Shattered God.
Coming up next, the avatars ascend to godhood and come face to face with the hardest decisions they'll make during the Shattered God. But before that, let's talk to the cast behind the characters in our next segment, Under the Table.
I'm loving the interviews, by the way, Sage. I was just reading what I'm about to have to say, and I was like, yo, like the interviews are fun, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Please introduce yourself.
So I am Mac the Axe.
Hello, I'm Ricardo, also known as TTRPG.
Goldie, or if we're not using pretend names, Jack.
I am Sean, better known online as Teleron.
Yeah, you're not using our pretend names. That was so funny to me.
Just give us a short character introduction.
So Echo, he was a fairy from the garden, and his job was to keep an eye on the other worlds on the other sides of the portals. And there was magic-y weird stuff coming from this portal.
That's right, because in the very beginning of the Shattered God, he was in not the Celestial Library, but one of the libraries near the Council of Seven, right? Looking for
it was perfectly sealed from magic, which is apparently just good craftsmanship. I do remember that.
I don't.
There was a funny moment. Echo was like, oh my gosh, your magic is so good. There's no holes in walls and stuff. And they were like, we just built the doors to fit the hole it goes in. Like, what do you mean?
No, basically. I don't remember that.
Okay, so in about 3 sentences, can you give us a short character introduction for Aer'yndor, for Throg, Helm, Oleg, for your character Dar from the Shattered God?
Just an introduction? Okay, Dar was a scarecrow with a minor enchantment made to protect a farm, and was brought to life during a storm and went on a mission to either get revenge for his friend who died in the storm, and to find a way to bring her back.
Oleg, he was a winged seraph simia, so he was a flying monkey, and he was a holy warrior and a member of the Knights of Lua at the start of the Shattered God.
Yeah, Helm was a adolescent, young Qatari noble, kind of. He was a rogue younger brother to a much more astute and studious older sister. Very mischievous, liked to run around at all hours of the nights, as young folks often like to do.
Okay, so Throg was an orc. So he went to Lunestra. He was working. It was part of like an exchange program to promote peace, and he was the only orc working there. And then a bunch of shit happened. Met some cool people. They saved the world. He became a god. There you go.
Filmed in the Shattered God, and they are a fungal type mushroom person that rolls around in a wheelbarrow collecting things in their little cart. Aer'yndor speaks extremely slowly because they are also extremely old, and I would say their most notable trait is their knowledge. So many knowledge rolls.
Now that we know a little bit more about the cast and characters of the Shattered God, here are a few of our favorite moments throughout the series.
Actually, my favorite moment for my character was when we were down in the Orc Kingdom stronghold, and Hal played the reverse Uno card and said, "No, your memories are wrong."
That was your favorite moment?
That was my favorite moment because I was really, it was just like he was going to kill Hal. And then Hal's just like, "Oh, nope, reverse Uno."
Tom kind of leaned into, yeah, I'm smart. I went to school. At least that's what he told his folks. And so when we were going to Throg's homeland, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that was actually, this is what happened." And I used my power to make Throg think that, because that's what Hal thought. And he's like, he's my friend. He's going to believe me, even if I make him believe me or not believe me. But that was probably the favorite part, because it was not because Hal likes to be a jerk to his friends or people, but it was more on the lines of, yeah, that's what I think it might be, right? And he tried to convince himself to convince Throg.
It's the mark of unveiled eyes. Spend 3 hope. Roll your duality dice to determine which feature is used. With fear, I look into the eyes of any mortal creature. It must mark distress as you alter a fundamental belief they hold true. And I think I'll be looking at Throg at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Pity.
fear. Throg needs to mark a stress. And he's telling his side of the story, and I'm telling my side of the story. And I look into his eyes, and my eyes flash that golden color that he received. His eyes are no longer green, they're now that gold. And his eyes will flash, and Throg will recondition his synapses to remember my version of the story.
Throg, from now on, you believe that this was Hero's March. This element from Corvallis came and wiped out the orcs in a valiant way. In a fair fight, so to speak. It's completely contrary to what you were raised to believe.
The fact that it was a fair fight and it was just a lost battle and not the massacre he was actually raised to believe it was, with the armies being out, like, supposedly on the fields of, meeting on the field of honor in that very field that we were just crossing for a week, and then them coming home to an ambush in their own home. He does feel a huge amount of guilt for his species, for perpetrating that. It was like, an unfair slaughter. The honorable battle part, where it was a fair fight, gives him a little bit more hope.
On a more emotional level, it was probably the moment that Dar and Oleg shared, watching a child practice fighting against a scarecrow in a field. So on one of the evenings, the party passes by a decaying wheat field. The soil is all cracked and dry. Withered stalks in the fields from the corruption. And roughly the center of the field is either a young boy or a young girl. We can't really tell from the distance. But they seem to have strapped a mop to a scarecrow's arm and the lid of a basket on its other arm. And they have the same in their arms, and they're play fighting with the scarecrow. And as they pass it, Oleg would have just stopped to stare at that scene.
I probably would have walked a little bit into the field and then just stood there, eyes closed, just standing in a field.
In this situation, I think that Aer'yndor would roll a little bit close to Dar and say, "Would you like to stay here a while?"
If we're stopping for the night, this may be a good place as any. favorite moment would probably be when we found that the death tea, and there was kind of a talks about who would hold on to it, who would potentially use it, and Dar volunteered to take it because he didn't want anybody else to risk themselves.
Something else you notice from your roll, the packet of tea that's in the cabinet, you referred to in the garden as death tea. If you were to drink it, you instantly would kill your target when you critically succeed on an attack. If you don't critically succeed on an attack before your next long rest, you die.
This is very dangerous.
As Echo, kind of explains what they are, Aer'yndor looks directly at Echo and stares very hard and says, "You should not have that."
Dar will walk up and put his hand out.
Do you know how to make tea?
Is it anything like soup?
Not really. Kind of. How? Do you want me to make the tea and then hand you the tea?
Sure.
Just for clarity, are you all sitting around the stone rings enjoying the ring of stone, enjoying soup, trading death tea and recipes for?
Yeah, I guess.
Pretty much, because I don't think that brewer's hut in the bottom of a tree would have been big enough for the 5 of us.
Is there like a... I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Is there something to make the tea and something to put the tea in?
There is nearby water that you came from, and there are plenty of cauldrons and vials and bowls. There might be bowls in that cabinet, we don't know. Around that you could make the tea and bottle it.
Cool. I think I'm just gonna explain to Dar how to make it and then hand him the tea leaves because it makes Echo uncomfortable. And Echo's gonna say, as soon as he finishes explaining it to Dar and handing it to him,
I still don't really think you should use it.
I don't want anyone else to take it.
So I'm not going to lie. It was in the episode where Soralia and the gods were accusing the elves at the stone circle in the garden of causing the corruption that was kind of seeping into and corrupting the garden and some of the other nature and neighboring realms. And in this scene, Aer'yndor uses an ability, well, not an ability, but Aer'yndor uses an experience along with an ability to create this vision of just extending this almost illusory vision into everyone who is present, showing them these little snapshots of what they and the party had experienced, the truths and the knowledge that they have, and extending that into everybody who is present. And using this one, I cannot remember the card, but I used an ability to change a final roll into a critical success. And that is how we ended up convincing them not to just, completely decimate the elves. So anyway.
Let me ask it this way. If I had rolled a critical success, would we have succeeded in our attempt to persuade them? Okay, in that case, I'm going to rewrite fate. This is an ability from a Divine Mark card. This is called the Oracle Ascendant, which is because I am the avatar of Calaris. I can spend 5 hope to change the outcome of any creature's roll to an outcome of my desire. And I am going to change my roll to a critical success. Aer'yndor is going to expand their memory museum to include everyone present at the trial in the stone circle. And they are going to take them to a room that is filled with memories of the shattered god. Things that Echo has said, that Throg has said, that Dar and Oleg and Halm have said, encounters that they have had with different divine beings, experiences that they have seen, corruption that they have witnessed. The very first episode with Raish Thalris's death and the death of the previous avatars of certain celestial beings. All of this memory coming to life around them, almost as if they are there, as if they're standing in the midst of it, full color, things playing around them from Elam's perspective, as if they are there in Elam's place. And as Elam speaks, this is going on around them. As Elam's voice drops off, and with their final words, the memories continue to play. And they play for moments until it seems as if the entire circle is in utter awe, not disarray, but almost paralysis of this overwhelm of the very truth, the knowledge, the fact of the present and the implications for the future. And when Aer'yndor recognizes that feeling, that overwhelming power, that the understanding as the avatar and the ascended oracle of Caloris, the understanding that they know and now have this knowledge, the museum returns to Elam's mind. And the trial continues.
As you have changed the fate ever so beautifully, you can see the look on Soralia's face.
I never thought of it that way. We worry about life. The mortals, they have life. And if we fall, they fall. And if they fall, we are soon to follow.
I think that my favorite moment for him, it's probably going to be different than what other people would think it would be, is whenever he first started feeling souls pass through the veil, like through him, and he could feel it. So yeah, that was my favorite moment. It's weird that the favorite moment is something like, oh, he started experiencing awful things, like really bad, just feeling people die, like.
Echo, give me an instinct roll for sense.
That is not very high. 13 with fear.
You feel a calling, this sense like there's something that you're supposed to do that you're not doing. And you feel it sort of building, like something is happening. It feels very similar to how your mark was pulling you before you met with Nazara. It's this unanswered question or this missed responsibility. Echo, you once again feel that calling, pulling you. This sense that you've forgotten something important.
An agent of the shattered god, Nixarath, attacks your home as we speak. Knowledge of your royal blood is now his. And with this knowledge, he attempts his revenge on the orcs of your home.
Before Throg responds, real quick, since Echo just realized the pull to that other realm, and Elland is talking about how all the orcs are being attacked, and Echo's goddess is the goddess of death, you know, of mercy in death. Yeah, I think Echo is gonna kind of go a little like blank face a little bit, you know, and just try to feel the pulls and kind of focus on them and fully grasp and understand what he's going to be feeling for the rest of his life, however long that is.
This is really unsettling. The feeling of... I'm going to have to get used to that.
What are you feeling?
I can feel souls passing through.
What kind of souls?
I'm assuming that they're the orc souls that are being attacked right now.
Then we need to go.
And Throg, you, while we're talking about thousands of elves that were at this encampment, you know that there are far fewer orcs, especially within your nomadic settlement, but generally in existence on Beldrennan and living in Veltheros.
Before we head off, we're going to look under the other side of the table to ask a few crucial questions to our GM, Ghost, the mastermind behind the Shattered God. Please introduce yourself and let us know where we can find you.
Well, certainly. So my name is Peter, but people call me Ghost because I am the creator behind the channel Ghostlight, hence the name. I act as the game master for Group Action Roll, our flagship Daggerheart actual play series.
I have several questions for you from the cast in regards to the Shattered God and different things that happened throughout the series. So the first question, which was my question, but was also everybody else's question.
Oh, boy.
Why was Dar in everyone's dreams?
Interesting. Yeah. So Dar, if you recall, before anything started, I had you all roll a d20. I had created a table. I kind of figured out who you all would be attached to in some way, shape, or form. For those, if you haven't seen the Shattered God, first off, go watch it because it's pretty cool. Secondly, all of the players created a vision, and then at the last minute, I told them to mix them up. So the vision that you created wasn't for your character; it was going to be for a different character. So when it came to Dar's vision was very specific. It was written by Helm, and it was very personal to Helm. So the way that I, in my mind, got around that was Dar was seeing Helm's fear. I knew that Dar was going to be connected to Aaron because that's what he rolled. So then I was trying to kind of resolve, how does this idea of seeing someone else's fear equate to being connected to the big, the God above all of this world. And so the easiest answer I came up with was, this is Daggerheart. So he will be the God of fear. He will be in my mind, I knew you all would become gods in the end. Like that was my ultimate goal. But I was trying to lead you down that path.
So that was what I was trying to do, was trying to make it so that he was the god of fear. So as these dreams kept occurring, they were always rooted in what your fears were. And so if you've noticed that every choice he made when being in someone else's vision, it was always to comfort them in that moment of fear, or to give them some sort of kindness, some sort of kind word, some way through the fear. I can't remember what the exact quote was that Aaron said to him in the end, but like, you need fear to be brave. You worry for your loved ones, and that's from a place of fear. Like, fear can be good if utilized in the proper way.
It's so funny that you say that, because I was convinced, especially in my notes, I was totally convinced that he was following like Raziel.
Yeah, part of that was by design. You know, a lot of it's playing on what you all gave me too. Like, knowing that he routed this character in lightning, that made sense to me. So like that instance when Nixarath is speaking to you all in the throne room of Elthwyn, and he's sort of trying to play on that, like, oh, you're just like me, you know, you are like the child of a god, and he's trying to get Dar to come to their side, because I think ultimately, and I don't know the right answer, but in my mind, Nixarath was aware of who had marked Dar, and what he wanted to do was take that power for himself, or take that power for their side.
Still on Dar here. Is he like dead now at the end, right? Because like there was the weird, like he sacrificed himself, but then Gretchen was like, actually, let's bring you back so you can kind of be a part of this.
And that's, you know, that's one of the things I love about Daggerheart, is like, I don't know. Like, part of it is like, you know, play and find out. The story is over. I don't feel like it's my story to write. But in my mind, you know, Gretchen brought him back to sort of close things out, to play his role as a god. Now, as I interpret it, you know, like there are the ideas of gods, and it's the empowerment of the divine. And then there are like straight up living gods. Like, take somebody like Throg. Like, God has imbued you with the power of divinity. Do you think taking off a helmet is going to absolve you of that responsibility? I guess we'll find out in the next series if that's the case, you know. Something like Oleg, you know, giving his power to Lena to be the goddess of balance. Like, does that mean he's free and clear of his responsibilities? I guess we'll find out.
I wish they could hear this right now. I guess they'll find out.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And like I said, I don't feel like it's my question to answer per se. And maybe it's not theirs either. Maybe it's just what comes out in gameplay. I like the idea of those characters are out there with the same questions and doubts that the players have. Like, is Oleg fishing somewhere saying like, is that it? Am I free of this now? Like, and you know, if he's not actively partaking in that responsibility, who's doing it in his stead?
Were there any other plot hooks that you had like completely kind of planned out and it was just good, ready to go, that we just never did?
I wouldn't say completely planned out. There were like some contingencies that I didn't know if you would take, like coming out of Golvathar that first time. Like, I had spoken to Sage a bit about Elam's home world, Nuclea, right? Being deeper in the earth, and the origin of the orcs were that they came up from the earth, similarly from a similar location. So there is always the potential for you all to travel down there from Golvathar. Obviously, Carthala is another. There's quite a few places between where you were in Carthala that you could have hit. Oh, so yeah, going into Golvathar, there was I thought you might go to Brackenford before Golvathar to like stock up and all this other stuff, but you didn't. Ellen wanted to go, but nobody else wanted to go.
Yes, I wanted to go as
Ellen
far
wanted to
away.
go just to not go to the
Right.
mountain.
So that was always an option. And there was like a whole other storyline that I had written that was like, if you went to Brackenford, how would you get into Golvathar? So there's like a whole other route into Golvathar that I thought you would take, and it was far less of a Throg is the king of anything, because that was all sort of, I rolled a die to see if his blood was going to work, and it just did. So, hey, now he's the king of something.
No, yeah, I cannot imagine how much of this story would have genuinely changed, because that was so toward the beginning. And then we have this sort of alliance going on with the orcs, and then we have the orcs and the elves. And then we have the whole marriage. That's a whole other story. So I cannot even imagine.
I loved how that came up too. That was totally just you all doing what you all do. And then Mac was like, oh.
I asked both Helm and Throg about when Helm changed Throg's entire thinking about that event. I was like, would Helm, first of all, did that ever change? And would Helm ever tell Throg the truth? And he was like, nah. He was like, no.
Yeah, like I love the way that played out. And you're right, like those, I think that you're going to see that those implications are resonate through the decades that have passed. You know, is that going to affect how he is as a ruler? Probably.
And that concludes our very first episode of Tabling the Narrative. This time, we broke down the major lore behind the Shattered God with a little help from the Shattered God cast, and we even sprinkled in some of our favorite and most impactful moments throughout the miniseries.
Join us next time for a play-by-play of the most important decisions in the Shattered God, including how the cast played a part in that, and the conclusion of our overview with some crucial questions for our GM, Ghost.
This has been Tabling the Narrative. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!